Oh, yes. Welcome and welcome back to you bleeping nerds. UBN. How y'all been, man? I ain't seen y'all since yesterday. How y'all been, man? Y'all good? Y'all eating? Y'all good? How y'all pockets? Y'all pockets okay? Oh, it's always so good to be here with y'all. We are here today here on You Bleeping Nerds, UBN, to bring you some more fresh anime reviews, takes, you know what I'm saying, insight, perspectives, and whatnot. You know what I'm saying, on these streets. Today, here on Wednesday, June 26, 2024, we're going to be doing, something that, we all love today, and that is Mushoku Tensai, Jobless Reincarnation, or as I call the adventures of our favorite magical little pervert, Rudis Gray Rat. That's right. Popular little joint. But before we get into all that, before we get into Mushoku Tensai, here on You Bleeping Nerds, UBN, we're here to let you guys know that we're here. We do a podcast every day, every single day, Monday through Friday, giving you a episode review of something that has aired in these animation, comic, anime streets. You know what I mean? Thank you for checking us out. All 4 of my subscribers, thank you guys. You know what I'm saying? You guys are the ground members. You guys are on the sunny. You know what I'm saying? This was One Piece. You guys are on the sunny. You know what I'm saying? You are my first mates, all of you. All 4 of you. You could fight over what character you want to be, but you guys, because you guys know I am the captain of this ship. I am the skipper. It's your boy A. And it's so good to be here with you guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm here by myself as always, but I'm here for you guys, and I'm here with you guys. Here to give you an episode review of Mushoku Tensai. But again, like I said, before we get into that, I want to encourage you guys to, subscribe to the podcast. Tell everyone about the podcast, guys. You know what I'm saying? I want this as big as possible. I'm back and I'm here forever, so I want this as big as possible. I want everybody to share, you know what I'm saying? You guys like hanging out with us. I like hanging out with you guys. Subscribe to the podcast on wherever you get your podcast. Share on whatever your socials. You can find us on Reddit, You Bleeping Nerds on the Reddit. You can find us on, Twitter, Zitter, whatever the fuck they call that now, Xer, whatever the fuck they call it now. You can find us there, You Bleeping Nerds. Subscribe to the Twitter, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the Reddit. You know what I mean? When we get the Patreon up, subscribe to that too. Shit. Subscribe to everything. Push that button, like it, share it with your friends. Word of mouth is the best way to share a podcast, guys. So, man, thank you here for being with us. We're going to go ahead and shift gears into the weekly schedule. Like I said, we do a podcast every single day, Monday through Friday. Monday, we're going to be doing my fucking jam. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can never remember the theme song when it happens, but Kaiju number 8, to me, the hottest show in the world right now. Love everything about it. The story, the action, the characters, hottest show in the world. That we're going to do that every Monday. That season's almost over, so we're going to jump into that and do that every Monday. Tuesday, yesterday, you know what I'm saying? We're doing That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. You know what I'm saying? Silicone Boob Sama Rimuru. I hope y'all like that joke as much as I fucking do, because I fucking love that joke. But yeah, no. Every Tuesday till that season ends, till the end of the spring season. Summer season's about 2 weeks. We're probably going to do a preview hype episode on what we're looking for in the upcoming animation and television seasons, because we don't just do anime. We don't just do animation. We do anything that's fucking cool in these nerd streets, because I say so. But on Tuesdays, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Wednesday, which is today, favorite magical little pervert. Mushoku Tensai. We're going to be doing that. We've been doing this basically since it came out. So we've been following this the whole time. Very popular show. Probably not the hottest show in the world, but it's definitely up there. Probably top 5, not definitely top 10. Thursday, there's going to be a change. I thought we were going to have something else in this spot, but we made an audible. Like I said, I do whatever the fuck I want. But on Thursdays, we're going to do Demon Slayer. I was calling all Demon Lord all last week because I was fucked up, man. I was fucking tired. But Demon Slayer on Thursday. This is the Hashira training arc. We're nearing the end of that. That's going to be good, coming up. So we're going to do that tomorrow on Thursday. And Friday, I've pushed Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy. We're going to do that on Friday. That's an underrated little joint. I enjoy Moonlit Fantasy. I'm going to get into it on Friday. But that's not what we're talking about today. Like I said, subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the Reddit. Subscribe to the Zitter Twitter. Xer. Thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and jump into the episode, y'all. It's Mushoku Tensai, episode 23, season 2. And it's a sad time for Rudis. We like to make fun of him because most of his sexual deviant behavior and thoughts and all of that. But, we do it all in good fun. But these last 2 episodes for Rudy have been quite tragic. Very powerful, very dark subject matter. Going into the episode entitled Let's All Go Home. Let's Go Home. The episode actually opens with a shot of his parents of his former life. The man who's reincarnated into Rudis, he went into a lot of how him and his parents in his previous life didn't have the closest of relationships. Talking about that how he wasn't there at their funerals and he probably should have been there, but of course him being a highly traumatized shut-in never made it to those things. Apparently when they happened, we see in a previous episode where he's his older brother. We find out he has an older brother, and we get insight in his attempts in order to get his brother to come out of his house. I wonder if those things are related. When his parents inevitably died, I wonder, that's his last family left. That's his little brother. Maybe I can, try to help him, now that I don't have any other family left. Obviously, we all know that was in vain. But very emotional scene. Obviously, it's a very emotional time. And it harkens back to another very emotional time for him. So I thought that was a very good shot. I thought that was a very powerful way to start the episode. Eventually, we transitioned into Rudy in current time, in his room, processing, I would say, what just happened to him. In the previous episode, he lost his father Paul, sexy Paul, you know what I'm saying? Paul that, you know what I'm saying? He obviously was killed in the labyrinth, shielding Rudy from an attack from the Hydra boss monster, who had Zenith, his mother, Rudy's mother. So, Rudy's going through a lot of emotions right now. He's processing, he says in the episode, you shouldn't have been protecting me. You should have been protecting Norn or Aisha. You shouldn't be throwing your body in front of me. Feeling that guilt, obviously, not only that his comrade died, but his father, being feeling responsible for that. The fact that he, we remember back in the episode, Rudy did get caught slipping, kind of let his guard down in the moment. A bit of a rookie-ish mistake. He's not a rookie, but it's like kind of a rookie-ish mistake. And Paul, who was a fucking badass, by the way. Like, you kind of know somebody's gonna die when, like, they just get extra raw in, like, the episodes, like, 1 or 2 before that. Like, Paul was showing the fuck out in all these episodes. So, like, in retrospect, it's just like, yeah, of course he was gonna fucking die, because that's how this works. But anyway, like, shielding Rudy, and Rudy feeling the guilt for that and carrying that with him, the survivor's guilt, and all the different layers of his pain. Is you can see it on his face. I shout out to the animation in this. You can see the pain on Rudy's face in the animation, that, his face, there's lines. He doesn't seem like he slept. He's in pain. Obviously, he's lost his hand. He's lost his left hand. There's still blood all over his cloak and his clothes, even though his wound has been, like, sealed magically. Rudy is just in a bad way. He's just suffering trauma on so many different levels. And then enters Roxy, his master, trying to console Rudy, trying to help Rudy, because, he's just in a bad way. There's no one to do so. Paul is gone. His mother has, magical amnesia, damage from being a captive in the labyrinth. A captive in the crystals. Annalise talked about how it was impairment from the being in the crystals. So Rudy's in a bad way right now. Rudy is in a place where, she can't, she can't, like, he can't, help himself, and process what's happening to him right now. She's, he's hurt. He's lost his father. He's lost his mother in a way. She's alive, but she's not right, obviously. Excuse me. It's been late right now. But yeah, really, she's in a bad way right now. So, in comes Roxy. She's trying to console him. She's trying to help him process, what happened to Paul. She tries to talk about her life as an adventurer, and how, you lose people on adventures, and that's just the way it is. She talks about how she understands how Rudy feels, which he has a reaction to. She, she hasn't lost her parents, and Rudy really lashes out at her about that, saying that, you don't understand how I feel. You couldn't possibly understand how I feel, because, your parents are still alive. You can see them, decades on in, and because of the way you age, you can always pop in and things will always be pretty fine. But, like, I've lost my mom. I've lost my father. I have to explain to my sisters now what happened to my family. It's really difficult for Rudy right now. So he really lashes out at Roxy when she tries to console him, saying that she understands, because he, obviously you get where Rudy's coming from. It's like you can't understand where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? You can't understand what I'm dealing with. because I feel like I lost my parents. I've already lost my family from a previous life, which obviously Roxy doesn't know. But you add that trauma on top of this, to where it's like, outside of the physical pain and stress that I'm dealing with, I have to learn how to process the another loss of another father and the loss of another family. It's really heavy stuff. It's probably one of the more emotional episodes we've seen in Mushoku Tensai. Obviously, the teleportation was very emotional. When he lost Eris was very emotional, but this was a great job by the team putting this together. And them really illustrating like how hurt Rudy is, and Roxy, in her attempts to make him feel better, decides that, hey, guess what, this pussy will make you feel better. Yeah, this pussy, this pussy will do it for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, I know you just lost like your whole family, but that's cool, because like this pussy is gonna make everything make everything all right, really. It's like, this is how this show is made by a dude. It's how it's made by a dude, because it's just like, oh man, some of the most traumatic things is just like, yo, my dude's got a bloody fucking cloak with an arm missing, and she's like, yo, I'll be on top. Like, no, I get how it is and everything. I get how it all is. It's just like, it's just funny to me to think about like how like fantastical some of this shit is sometimes. It's just like, and she a water mage, so I don't know. I ain't saying nothing, but I'm saying, say she a water mage, so Anyway, what I'm saying, Roxy takes advantage of a man who just lost his family and puts that pussy on him. I'm not being fair. I'm not being fair. But Rudis and Roxy, they fuck, they have sex. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So there's coming, there's coming in his life, there's going in his life. That's how this is. You know what I mean? Coming and going, man. That's how life is. Rudy Juice is learning. But anyway, he him and Roxy consummate. They make love. And that basically caps part 1 of the episode. And I wanted to top that segment off with some levity, because obviously it's such a tragic episode, but you can still find the humor. You can still find the humor and the frankly the absurdity of it all. Obviously that happening in that moment, plus like her being aware of him having a wife and a child, which we're going to get into part 2 of the episode. But I thought it was very good. I think it's an example of what the show does well, right? To where, it can play those emotional beats very well. And I felt for Rudy, just looking at the pain on his face, both in his previous form and his current, it was so very powerful to me. You know what I'm saying? It was just so very powerful to me. Every time I saw him, just like, man, he's just in so much pain, and I can feel his pain through the screen. You know what I'm saying? But then, you juxtapose that to just the fucking absurdity of like him getting some pussy at the end. Water mage. No, she's Gary getting some pussy. Him being some pussy at the end of the first scene. You know what I'm saying? That shit is fucking, it's why we love this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's why we love this shit. But no, yeah, moving on to part 2. After Rudy knocks the dust off of that shit. In part 1, we move on to part 2, which is Rudy going to speak to Lilia, his father's maid concubine, his daddy's side piece, who is taking care of his mother, who is recovering from the condition she got from being captured into the labyrinth. So, again, more pain. I hate to laugh, but I get uncomfortable. But no, more pain for Rudy after watching his mother. It's not only that he lost his father, but he's dealing with his mother in this state. We get some information from Annalise saying that she probably is going to be like that. It's, damage from being in a magical stasis for as long as apparently she was. So all very sad for Rudy. He talks to Lilia about how he wants to do more and he wants to play his role in helping Zenith. And I do think it's interesting that Zenith says, no, this isn't your role, this is mine. And, your role is elsewhere. Taking care of my lord. A lot of side chick action, a lot of side chick energy in Mushoku Tensai. You know what I'm saying? This is a old, like Lilia is a super faithful side chick. You know what I'm saying? I will take care of, you wonder if there's some guilt there too for also, getting pregnant by her husband there too, operating with Lilia. But, her basically saying, this is my master. Lilia's maid, even though I got pregnant by her husband, this is my master and this is my job to take care of her. And, she's very faithful to that. So of course, Paul Greyrat's son finds women who are like that. Apparently, again, strong side chick energy in this show. Real shot, lots of side chick energy in this show. Because moving on to part 3 of the episode, we Rudis travels with everyone in the party, Annalise, Rat, the dungeon party, Roxy, through the dungeon ruin teleporter, which is how he got from Rapon to where he was. And he makes the group promise that they won't, discuss the way they teleport. Probably because, in their world, there's no such transportation. So if there was widespread knowledge of this technology, I think, he's obviously, he wants to have it to himself, but also there would be some type of conflict over it. It's very powerful, to be able to travel so instantly, and, the ramifications that would fall out from that. So, Rudy wants them to keep it a secret. He blindfolded everyone on the journey so they wouldn't be able to, find their way back on their own. But after they teleport, Annalise basically says to Rudy that he should just say fuck it and marry Roxy, because Roxy with the shiz. So you should just go ahead and marry Roxy. And again, strong side chick energy. It's just it's go ahead and marry Roxy. I don't see the problem with loving two people at once. And Rudy is skeptical to this at first, because he's first off, there's no way my wife, Sophie, would be cool with me being with another woman. But apparently, Rudy Juice just said fuck it. He actually said whatever, I'll be a scumbag, but I better just try. Which is I don't know what the fuck that says about you, kid. The idea of hey man, this is shitty, but nigga, I got a shot. All right, kid. You. But anyway, fuck it, he shot his shot at Roxy, you know what I'm saying? make our last names the same. Make your last name my last name. You know what I'm saying? And obviously Roxy, she with the shits. You know what I'm saying? Roxy with the shits. You know? She obviously she admitted her love to Rudy. She admitted that she knew he had a wife and a kid, and she still, pursued him, tried to have sex with him anyway. And she doesn't care. She said that you can use me as long as we're here, and you can go back to that woman. You know what I'm saying? And after he proposes to her, Roxy brings up the dilemma of well, what did Sylvie feel about this? And, she said she don't know. He doesn't know. And so Roxy says that, I'm not going to, ask me again. We're going to go ask Sylvie. We're going to talk to her about it. And, if she accepts, then ask me again, So basically saying that, if your bottom bitch is cool with this, then yeah, I don't mind being your second hoe. I don't mind. I hate to put it like this, but it's yeah, I mean, shit. What the fuck? And I ain't gonna lie, y'all know Sophie with the shits. She with it. Come on, now she basically said, hey man, if I can't have your baby, you can have another concubine just like your dad did. It's all good. Sylvie said you could go, before Rudis even thought about fucking another bitch, Sylvie said you can go ahead and fuck another bitch. You know what I'm saying? So she's gonna be fine with this. Roxy, you know what I'm saying? This is why my man, when he said, oh, my chick trying to find a way back to my old world. Oh, yeah, nah. Yeah, I wasn't doing so hot on that other side. I'm winning over here, baby. I got dope magic, you know what I'm saying? I got, magical earth gats, you know what I'm saying? Blow holes through monsters and shit, I got fine elf and dog and cat bitches and, you know what I'm saying? They all trying to fuck. I'm winning in magical land over here. So I'm sorry bro, sorry Aniki. Nissan, I'm not going back. I can't go back. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame old Rudy Juice for that shit. I'm winning over here. I don't fucking mind. This is just another example, because what this mean. And he gonna get with the dog and the cat chick too. I know she, because Man God said, hey, they've been trying to fuck him anyway. So, Man God said, have a baby with them. He probably gonna go do that anyway. So you can tell this is all made by a dude, guys. Good show, though. Good show, though. Fun absurdity, and all that. And that's basically how episode 23 ends. Let's go home. They're going to go back to Sylvie. And they're going to see how she feels about all this. And we're going to see what happens in the next week. And to wrap up, I thought it was a good episode. I thought the emotional beats were great. The conversation with Lilia, having to take care of Zenith. Finding out her condition was pretty terminal. So, there was just nothing, she was going to be able to do. Anyone he was going to be able to do to save her. The initial scene about his own parents. In this season, we've gone into a lot of his old life, about how his family tried to pull him out of his condition, when Norn was in her going through her episodes. That's a mean way to put that, but going through her issues and problems she was having. We flashed back to how his older brother tried to help him, and we see in this episode his parents are, how they weren't close, and how that parallel with Paul and Zenith, to where it's, he had a much closer relationship with definitely Paul. Maybe not Zenith, because he described in another episode that because of the teleportation and him, that was the very first time he sees Zenith since the teleportation. He had met up with Paul on a couple of different occasions, so they had that relationship. But to me, overall, very, very solid episode. And I'm looking forward to the next episode. Mostly, a lot of it is just to kind of laugh at how, like, my man is out here straight fucking pimping. Like, as a guy, there's the lizard brain in me. So I'm just like, go ahead, get it, Rudy. But then, like, I'm an adult, saying, with kids and a family. So I'm just like, your emotional maturity is still about where it was at the beginning of the episode. He was talking about, I thought I had grown. And to be honest, he definitely has grown. To say that he hasn't grown just isn't fair. Like, he's definitely grown. But, there is an emotional maturity to Rudy that I think is still unexplored. Still has got a little bit of a ways to go. And, I'm interested to see how they handle all that. But that's going to wrap up Mushoku Tensai Jobless Reincarnation Season 2, Episode 23 review podcast. Check in with us tomorrow on Thursday, June 27th. We're going to do Demon Slayer. You know what I'm saying? Check in with our demons, Muizan, with his fresh ass. Man, he is the freshest fucking antagonist in the history of television. Muizan is the freshest motherfucker ever. You know what I'm saying? My dude show up in some fucking white fucking shoe gators. You know what I'm saying? A snakeskin cat. You know what I'm saying? There's some like leopard draws. Like, Muizan the freshest. They got a perm. He a beautiful motherfucker. He an evil, beautiful motherfucker. But anyway, hang out with us tomorrow, man. On Thursday, we're gonna break down the newest episode. It's gonna be a good one. If you are here from last week, you saw Muizan arrived to Obishiki's his home. There's that confrontation, that face-off is happening between the two, the leader of the Demon Slayers and the leader of the demons, the progenitor of the demons himself. So don't miss that tomorrow on You Bleepin' Nerds, UBN. And again, like I said, subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Subscribe to the Reddit, You Bleepin' Nerds Reddit. Subscribe to the Twitter, Zitter, Xer, Twizexer, whatever the fuck they're calling it. And I'll subscribe to that. You Bleepin' Nerds on Twitter. And thank you for hanging out with us. I am the Skipper. It's your boy A. I had a blast today. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all be good. Peace.